Hi everyone, my name is Baitson and I'm Head of Emerging Technology at Altada. Today I'm going to be talking to you about using artificial intelligence to unlock the value of your data, specifically focusing on non-performing loans. So just before I start, a quick overview of who we are. So we are an Irish-based AI company. We're a globally recognized team of over 100 AI thought leaders. From a technical point of view, we have skills and expertise in data science, machine learning, artificial intelligence, software engineering, blockchain, quantum, and other emerging technologies. Where are we? Well, as I said, our headquarters are in Cork, Ireland, but we also have offices in London and Malta in Europe, the East Coast and West Coast of the US, and we recently launched our most up-to-date office in Delhi, India last week, and we also have offices coming from Austin, Texas, and Singapore at the end of the year. What do? Well, we help accelerate our clients' journey through AI. So we digital transformation journey, we support them. How do we do it? Well, essentially we read documents really well. Specifically around unstructured data, we read documents really well. So a little bit about data. So as you can see, 85% of businesses look to become data-driven. And the reason why they look to become data-driven is because the majority of companies who are data-driven have shown true benefits and value as a result of being able to adapt quickly and being able to make more informed decisions as a result of understanding the data. But only 37% of these companies who aspire to be data-driven are actually successful. And the reason is because there's a lot of challenges that people face when it comes to data. You need to identify the objective. So it's not good enough just understanding your data. You need to know why it is that you want to have your data in front of you and be able to make decisions as a result of that. It needs to be accessible. So especially as your company grows, sometimes your systems can become disjointed. It can be difficult to know where your data is, different systems, services, databases. So it can be really difficult to understand where the source of truth is. And then to integrate all of them together into a central location can be quite difficult. You'll also come up against cultural resistance. Like with any change, people will always resist. You know, humans are a creature of habit. We like doing the same things the same way all the time. So you're always going to come up against some sort of cultural resistance. The trust is a big issue here as well. As I said, as the company grows and there's a lot of different touch points from a data point of view, you know, it's very hard to know whether that data is the most up-to-date data. So the trust and the quality of that data is quite difficult. And then, as I said, the data overload as well. So there's multiple different sources that the data come from. Sometimes it can be difficult to really understand where the data is. But the companies who are successful are persistent. You know, they keep on pushing. They're resilient. They don't let small setbacks or failures kind of hinder their progress. They have great execution. So they put a plan in place. They get the team involved and the resources needed, and then they deliver on the execution. And they have relentless drive. So they keep on pushing. But once you have your data, then what do you do with it? So it's good enough having your data, but to really understand the benefits of your data, AI is where that comes in, artificial intelligence. And we like to see this as a supercharge to human thinking. So not only do you have your data, the AI allows you to recognize patterns, it allows you to understand the context of your data, and then even suggest potential outcomes and decision making as a result of that data. But there's also challenges with adopting AI in industry. So business value and use case identification. At the moment, what we're seeing is a lot of companies invest small amounts in AI just to try and understand and realize the potential. But AI is a long-term strategy. It requires lots of data and it requires lots of investment. So companies who take that small amount and try to realize the potential with small amounts of money and small amounts of time are going to fail. Skills and expertise. So a lot of companies don't really have the skills and expertise to know and understand the value when they're applying AI to their business solutions. So to have good leadership team that understand that technical capabilities is always a good idea. And then data, as I explained, there's a lot of challenges around the data. But a formula that we've seen work is if you have the mindsets and you employ the resources and the right people, you understand the processes and even create new processes, then you can layer on the technology afterwards. So now if we look at financial services, asset management, contract intelligence, and due diligence, this is where we spend a lot of our time. A lot of these have their own individual problems and tackle it in their own individual way. But what is common across them all is they need to ingest large amounts of documents and large amounts of data quite quickly. And a lot of these documents may have been digitized 10, 15 years ago. Laws and structures may have changed, so it's a real problem. But essentially, they all want to ingest data, understand the content and the value that's in there because there's a lot of money at stake. Now we look at non-performing loans. So non-performing loan is when a borrower fails to pay the agreed installments. And normally this happens 90 days after a loan has been failed to be paid. What we have seen is that non-performing loans is a key driver in terms of money when it comes to businesses. So this is something that doesn't really happen sporadically. It's something that, banks will look at non-performing loans. It's something that happens on a regular basis. So they would batch these up into 10 or hundreds of documents, loan portfolios. Some of these can be 10, hundreds of millions of pounds worth, if even more. And then what they would do then is they have a choice to kind of sell them. And during this bidding process, secondary banks, asset managers will come in and bid for these documents. And they have a short space of time where they really need to understand the value that's in them. At the moment, they just throw a lot of people at them, a lot of resources and a lot of time. This can be quite a costly process. So we've developed a solution that allows them to really understand that data. If we look at NPLs in a little bit more detail, and take a tangible example. So if we look at the pandemic and COVID in 2020, a lot of mortgages went into furlough, which meant that the banks had stopped paying them. What we see from historical data is that the time at which the crisis on an NPL hits until the point where it actually peaks is between 3 and 3.5 years. So if we take that example, within Q2 2023, we're going to have a lot of these mortgages where documents will need to be processed, hundreds of thousands of documents will need to be processed, and the value of the data needs to be understood, and that's where we come in. At the moment, that's a very manual process, as I have outlined. It's quite slow, so obviously you need a lot of people sitting down, reading through millions and millions of pages, millions and millions of data points. It's quite costly because you have to deploy the resources to understand those documents, and it's inaccurate as well because humans, although we would like to think we're 100%, we make errors, we get tired. A lot of these documents, as I said, are 10, 15 years old and digitized, so they're not the best quality. So over time, what we'll start to see is, as a person is sitting down working on 10, 15 pages for 100 of documents every single week, the 3s will become 8s, the 5 will become 6s, the decimal place will shift a little bit. So inaccuracies will always incur. In terms of the loan portfolios, they're very unstructured. There's no common thread across them all. The data is inconsistent, and a lot of the decisions that they're making at the moment is based on this inconsistent data. So that's where we come in. We can ingest different document types. We can understand the context of the data, and then we can infer decisions and content and data points to our customers to make them make more informed decisions. Just to give you an example of one of our success stories, we worked with Rocktop Partners, who are a large investment manager in the US. They came to us, they said that they had a lot of documents that they need to be processed in a short space of time. So we put our algorithms to work, and we seen that we went from 6-8 week process down to 48 hours. So we increased the time by 20x. We seen a reduction in cost over 90%, and we also seen accuracies of over 90%, which I'll touch on in a moment. But this is a little bit short-sighted because essentially what we're doing is we're allowing these companies to make more informed decisions on a quicker timescale. So at the moment, they would have had to wait 6 to 8 weeks to spend hundreds of millions of pounds on something and make a decision on how that should be actually put to use, whereas now they can make those decisions within 2 days. Just on the accuracy point, as I said, humans are inaccurate in terms of what they do. People get tired. Our system isn't 100%, but it's good enough. It just needs to be better than a human manual process, which it is. What we've seen is that, from the figures that I showed previously, it is more cost effective, it is more timely, and it is more efficient in terms of what we're doing. So how do we actually do it? So we deploy a number of different technological advancements into reading the documents and understanding the data that's contained within them. First, we use OCR, which is object character recognition. So all the documents come into us in PDF format. We then have to understand the content that's in them. So pull out the tables, the images, the text. So we use a range of different techniques in order to understand those different components that make up those documents. Then we use natural language processing. So this basically understands the context of what the text is within those documents. how the words are positioned, what the sentence is like, in order to really understand and pull out the key data points from those documents. And then we deploy a number of different ML machine learning algorithms, which essentially allows us to categorize the document, understand patterns, and then present the user back with an analyzed table of results. And this table can be in whatever format the customer looks for, whether that's a CSV file, an online dashboard, and we can even overlay our results on the original documents. So just a little bit more on some success stories. This is a tier 1 asset manager in the US that again asked us to help them with the documents. We processed 3 million documents over 15 million pages, and our very first round was 90% accuracy, and with a bit of fine tuning, we went up to 93% accuracy. Another success story, again, another tier 1 asset manager in the US. This is around document indexing. So they have a loan portfolio where they had multiple different documents per loan portfolio. Some of the pages were missing, they were out of order. So what we done was we deployed our AI to it to understand and allow them to understand the data that's within those documents. We were able to process and turn that around in 24 hours and brought a process that's hours, days, weeks down to near real-time processing in under 5 minutes. Another success story, another tier 1 bank in the US, again 1.6 million documents, 19.5 million pages, 80%, and with a bit of fine tuning, again over 90%, and again was able to return these results back to the user in under 5 minutes for proofing. So just a quick summary, a lot of people are having challenges trying to really understand the data that they have, understand the documents, and really pull out the key data points from the data that they have. So what we do is we really work on those documents, we understand the content, we present it back in the user, and allow them to make more informed decisions as a result of processing those documents. And what we've seen from all of our clients and customers that we work with at the moment is that it's faster than the alternative, it's more cost effective, and the accuracies that we can deliver is better than a human can. Again, we read documents really well. Thank you.